Hey everyone, Robb from Roll here, and today I'm talking about the 6 cards from Shadespire. I think we need an FAQ on most. I'm going to be talking about them more or less kind of least to greatest in terms of need, just because some of the cards towards the beginning either don't come up that often, or they've mostly been resolved by the community, where the cards towards the end, there still is a good amount of debate going on online as to what they mean. So we're going to start off with Whitening Blast, which is of course a Stormcast Eternal upgrade card, equivalent to Oberyn, and the controversy comes from the second word in the actual rule portion of it, reading, when they make a critical hit, the emphasis on they, this fighter inflicts 1 damage on enemy fighters adjacent to the target's hex. The issue with this card was, and I think it's been mostly cleared up, is people are saying, can refer to anyone. They can refer to Oberyn, they can refer to his target, adjacent targets, who is they. Per the rules of English, it's kind of obvious that they is modifying this fighter, which would be Oberyn, because it's equipped to him, because it's when they make a critical hit, this fighter. And just the way that English works, and I understand English, and I'm not an English major, but I always did alright in it. They is directly modifying this fighter just based on the way the sentence is structured. I do kind of see how it can be twisted around to be whoever, but you can read the flavor text and it obviously means Oberyn. Then you have people saying flavor text doesn't matter. I say flavor text can give you a pretty good indication of what the rule as intended means versus the rule as written, and rule as intended is when Oberyn hits. So if Games Workshop could just give us a quick FAQ that's like, yep, when Oberyn hits, with a critical hit rather, then this takes effect. The second 2 cards I want to talk about are Good Scrap, which is an Orc objective card, and a Battle Without End, which is an Undead objective card. And the reason I'm bringing up these cards together is because they came up at the same time in the last game I played as Orcs versus Undead. Just to kind of tell you what they are, the Orc card Good Scrap is score this in the end phase. If 3 or more fighters were taken out of action in the preceding action phase, and Battle Without End is score this in the end phase if 2 or more friendly fighters return to the battlefield in the preceding action phase. So just to kind of tell you what happened, Bone Cutter, the Orc, was killed, so that's 1 fighter down. The Harvester was then killed. Okay, so he's dead. He came back, fine. He was killed again, and then he came back again. And no one else died or came back. So 2 fighters were returned, or rather 1 fighter returned once, and 3 fighters died, or rather 2 fighters died and 1 fighter died twice. The way we ruled it is neither of us would score it, which worked slightly in his favor because it would have given me 2 honor versus his 1, but I ended up winning anyways. But it's one of those things where, okay, when it says 3 fighters or 2 fighters in situations like this, does that mean 2 different ones or 2 the same? We agreed it's slightly more obvious in the Undead one because it says 2 friendly fighters, and for some reason throwing the word friendly in there made us both think it meant unique. Good Scrap though, because it's not an Undead card and it doesn't always use the bring a guy back mechanic. It says if 3 or more fighters were taken out, could that be the same guy even 3 times if that happened, if he kept coming back? We ruled no, just because I think if it meant that, it would say if a fighter or if fighters, I don't know actually how you would word that in a way that would make sure that you know it's that. But just a quick FAQ on both these cards, saying, they have to be 3 unique fighters that died. They have to be 2 unique, skeletons that came back. Just to kind of clarify these, just because, again, I haven't seen much discussion, but it came up in a game, and we had to make a call, and we both agreed on it. So moving on then to the next card, Ever Advancing, which is an equipment for Garrick of the Bloodbound, and basically what this does is it gives him a reaction. When this fighter could be driven back during an attack action, whether or not your opponent chooses to do so, you can instead push them 1 hex. Initially, I had read this card, as did a few other people, meaning when a fighter attacks Garrick, Garrick can then push them, as opposed to being pushed. Rereading this card is obvious that them is referring to this fighter, which would be Garrick. So just a quick clarification on that. Again, I don't think it's anything major, but just something that says, yep, Garrick is the one that you can push 1 hex in whatever direction. And then lastly, or not lastly, sorry, 2 left. These are the 2 kind of big ones I've seen. Second to last is Swift Strike, which is a universal upgrade card, and what it does is it gives you an attack and a reaction for that attack. The attack is 1 hex, 3 attack dice with swords, and dealing 1 damage, and the reaction is, before making this attack action, push this fighter 1 hex. There was a lot of debate and controversy and ultimately name-calling online because of this card. Basically, the debate was, does this mean, if let's put up invisible hexes, you have a fighter here, there's an empty space here, and then there's an enemy fighter here, and the guy equipped is right here. Can you move and then attack this guy? Because it's a range of 1, or do you have to declare an attack with a legal target and then move? Meaning you couldn't, if there's no one adjacent over here, you can't move in that attack. Originally, I was in the boat of, well, you attack and then you take a reaction. Not so. Someone posted, and if I can link to that below, it will be below. Basically, the order of attack, which is you declare you're making an attack, and then you declare your opponent. Or your target, rather. So it sounds like to me now, you can declare you're making an attack, make this reaction to move, and then declare a target based off your new position. So I think rule as intended is move and then attack, so long as there's no other reaction or ability to resolve that would trump this. But I think that is what this actually is intended to do, is move and then attack. But just an FAQ on this, just because there's a lot of controversy, and like I said, name calling is pretty childish. That'd be great. And last but not least, the card that I see most discussed now is Time Trap. So just to read Time Trap, choose a fighter, they can take an action, skip your next activation, and you cannot play this after your 4th activation. To me, this card is pretty obvious what rules as intended is. It means you basically get to take an activation now, and you're skipping it later, you're giving it up later. So if I play this after my 1st activation, so I know I take my activation, flip my little token, do whatever, I play this card, one of my other fighters does an activation, it'll go to my opponent. When it comes back to me, I think I'm flipping my token and just doing nothing, moving straight back into the, not in phase, but like the power phase or whatever it's called, and then back to my opponent. People are saying, no, it says skip. What that means is, I play my card, I activate, I play this card, and then I don't flip it the second time, I just skip it. So basically your opponent goes twice, and then you would flip your second, and then your third, and then your 4th. Effectively giving you 5 activations. Oh, except for with this card, you can technically charge, use this on that same guy to charge because you're not activating them, they're just taking an action, and then that doesn't have any adverse consequence, then the rest of your turns are delayed. I think if this was intended to do that, it wouldn't have the caveat of you cannot play this card after your 4th activation, because then if it's giving you an extra activation anyways, basically, if it didn't have that. So my rules as intended interpretation is you play this instead of activating, not you play this and then delay your activation by skipping it. To me, skipping is you lose it. But I think we really need an FAQ on that, just because I think skip is it's not a poor choice of words, but there's a lot of people playing this game that are trying to, I don't think they're trying to exploit so much as understand, and in understanding a game that doesn't have super consistent wording, I think that leads to natural exploitation of the game and the rules. So those are the 6 cards I think we need an FAQ on most. Let me know if there are any cards or rules in general that you think we need an FAQ on, and if you want Games Workshop to address them. But beyond that, hopefully we get something soon. Hopefully we get more previews of the upcoming Skaven and Dwarves, because both Skaven and Dwarves are awesome. Once again, I have been Rob from Made a Roll. Check out our social media over here, and I'll catch you guys next time.